Best lighting of any interview you got, I bet.
Yeah.
With all the stage lighting?
Yeah, this is pretty good.
I mean, I probably have good color.
So, just to start, you can introduce yourself if you want.
Like of Lake Ann, Michigan, or what do I?
Yeah, I'm Matt Therrien.
Okay, maybe I should shut my phone off just so that doesn't get awkward. Okay, are we rolling?
Yeah.
Are you good at editing?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm Matt Therrien from Lake Ann, Michigan, owner of Lake Ann Brewing Company.
What are some of your hobbies or favorite things to do around Benzie County?
Well, from the time I was a young lad, I loved to hunt and fish and be outdoors. So I do enjoy a lot of things Benzie County has to offer, whether fishing on the inland lakes or the big lakes. That's definitely something that I love to do, probably more than my wife would like me to.
What's a normal day like for you?
Right now, or 10 years ago, or?
Right now.
Right now. Well, we run Lake Ann Brewing Company, which we opened in 2015. So that entails the days that we're open. That entails kind of managing in the off season, which is right now in March. It's pretty easy. It's not nearly as busy as the summertime. So we have to make sure operations are set. We produce beer here on site for our patrons, and so that's a pretty big operation. We have a brewer that works for us, and then we have a taproom manager that makes our schedule and makes sure everybody's scheduled on the right days. And so now I get to kind of oversee everything more so than have to be in the trenches, but always have time to serve beer or make beer if I have to, or do whatever it takes to help everybody out to make sure they get the job done.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Flushing, outside of Flint, which is about 3 hours southeast of here. We had family that had already lived in Lake Ann since the mid-'80s, and so I moved here about 23 years ago, somewhere around there. So been here about as long as I was there, so I'm in the halfway point.
What was it like growing up in Flushing, and how was it different than living here?
Well, I guess when you're growing up, you never know how it is growing up somewhere else because you're growing up. But we lived in an area where we had a lot of kind of wilder country to roam around on, being kids, along the Flint River, and there was some ponds that we could fish in, and the area to hunt right from our house, and things like that. But we grew up in a relatively small town there, and I went to a small school, so I don't know how much different it would be, I guess, growing up there. But
who were your parents, and what did they do?
Well, my parents were my dad was Dick Therrien, and he was a mason contractor. So he built basements out of block basements around our area growing up, and all the boys in our family kind of went into that trade as well. My brother still has a masonry company now here in Lake Ann. I grew up doing that for close to 20 years. And my mom was a homemaker and then became a nurse, registered nurse, and ended up being a hospice nurse. And did that until she retired, and my dad passed away in 2014, and my mom's still alive.
You talked about having brothers. Who are your siblings, and what are their names?
Oh boy. Well, all my brother siblings live right here in Elmira Township in Benzie County, within about 3-4 miles of right here where we sit at the brewery. My brother Dan Therrien, he's the oldest, and he lives on Railroad. And then my brother Craig, he lives on Cedar Run Road, and he's, what is he, 60? My brother Dan is 61. And then my brother John, I think, is 57. And he lives on Cedar Run Road. And then my sister still lives in Flushing. And she is 58, maybe. So I'm the baby.
What was school like growing up? Like, what extracurriculars were you a part of?
I wasn't really good with extracurricular activities. I didn't really like school at all. And I didn't really want to be involved in anything else. I'm still not a big fan of school. I don't like even dropping my kids off for school. It kind of makes me sick thinking about it. And therefore, I wasn't really good in the formal educational system. So I went to college for a small amount of time, and I just didn't like it. And I kind of thought, you know, I think I can figure out my own way. And I did. It just wasn't my bag. I would rather start my own thing and be responsible for it, whether it fails or succeeds.
So, did you continue through college, or did you drop out?
No, I started off going to Baker College in Flint to do. I was kind of interested in architecture because that was our family business, was construction and everything, and I was kind of interested in that. And then I kind of got pushed into mechanical drawing, so I'm drawing pictures of nuts and bolts, and you know, essentially that job would be, you know, you'd be working in a machine shop in Metro Detroit drawing pictures of stuff like that. And after a year of that, I think it was about a year, I just kind of hung it up. I said I didn't want to do that. My mom convinced me to keep into college, to do at least just stay there, and I don't know why, if she had stock in the school or what. She wanted me to just keep giving them money. So then I went to the community college for another year, and it was an entire waste of my time, and I left. So wasn't for me.
What kind of jobs did you have while you were in college?
College and high school?
Sure.
Well, my first real job after not working on my dad's construction crew, because in the wintertime, it was tough to do that because I'd get out of school and, you know, I'd need a job from like 3:30 till, you know, at nighttime. And so I started off, I worked at the supermarket. When I was 16, I started at a 23 supermarket in Flushing, Michigan, and I was a bagger. And because I was working construction, I didn't hire on until late, like early in September. And so I was the lowest on the totem pole of bagging. And in those days, all the cans had to be sorted manually. You had to sort all the cans. So if they'd have like first, second, and third bagger on a day. And if you were first bagger, you always had to be there bagging groceries unless there was nothing else to do. If you were second bagger, then you'd only come if they needed an extra bagger. Otherwise, you'd be in the back can room sorting cans, which that was the primo thing to do. It was much better than bagging because you'd be back there and screwing around. So I hired on late, so I was always first bagger every shift. I never got to do anything but bag. And then in February of that next year, I broke my leg playing hockey, and I was done and I was out for the season. So then I went back to construction. I think in that time when I had my broken leg, I did a job for a friend's dad's tire store doing telemarketing, calling people about oil changes and stuff and everything. And that was the most horrendous job I think I ever had, because people hated people calling them. And boy, they'd be yelling at you, or you'd call somebody and they're dead. And it was awful. and hold on.
When you get a sec, it doesn't have to be right now, but my cousin, I told you she was coming there, she came.
Oh yeah.
We can take a break.
No.
Okay.
She's
She's gonna fill out an application.
okay. Have her do that in the office, and then I'll come in and talk to her. Okay. Can you edit that out?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I did. We were doing telemarketing, and my best friend Ben was doing it with me, and I had a broken leg, so I was laid up, so I really couldn't do anything else. So we're calling from Northwest Tire and Service, and you'd always, you say, "Hey, is Jerry there?" And and they'd say like, "Why?" And right then you knew Jerry's dead, right? And I was like, "Oh man, well, we got a great deal." Or the people had a bad experience at the tire place, and I'd never go back there again. It was just horrendous. So I did that, and then we were always, me and my buddy, were always trying to figure out some way to make money doing something. We were going to do maple syrup, and we were going to do payphones, because payphones were, it was a thing where you owned a payphone, and people put money in, and you'd make money off it. Well, and then now everybody's got a cell phone. Nobody goes to a payphone. It would have been a terrible investment. So we did a lot of different things that involved trying to figure out how to make money, but at the end of the day, hard work was really the way where we got ahead. So then I went back. I did. Through college years, I went into, continued on with construction and was running my dad's crew. And then I moved here when I was about 22, 23 and worked for my other brother who lives here. Worked for him for about 10 years or so.
What did you do after college?
Well, college, we'll use that in quotations, college, like when I was college age. After that, I started doing construction, and I built my first house, which was in Benzie County, north of Thompsonville. And I built and did a lot of work on it and sold it after 2 years, and built our house here in Lake Ann, and just built a lot of houses and did after that I got into vacation rentals in Lake Ann here. In 2005 we built our first vacation rental, and we're still in that business. We have 3 now. So building and renovating, and then I was also home brewing at the time. I started home brewing in 1997 probably. So I was getting my feet wet in the brewing world. So that was that.
When did you meet your wife?
Oh, well, interesting. I met her at college. She was, I would joke that she went to Michigan State and I went to Michigan State on the weekends. So it was much more affordable to go that way. So I met her in New Year's Eve of 1997. She was a mutual friend of ours, and we met and began dating. And she was actually the one who talked me into moving to Benzie County. Well, my parents had a cabin on the Betsy River. They still have it down between 115 and the cemetery in Thompsonville, and so they had the cabin there, and all of my brothers had lived there for a short period of time when they were building their house or something. So I moved there in the winter of 1998, and that was kind of my maybe leaving the nest and kind of going off on my own, and then essentially just kind of preparing to build my first house. So I think I bought property in 98 down in Thompsonville, and built in 2001. So.
What is your wife's profession?
Well, so she was she graduated from Michigan State with a master's in accounting, and she went on to Ernst & Young in Toledo, worked there for a short period of time, and then she actually went to Munson and in Traverse City and worked there for 14 years, and she left there right prior to us opening the brewery in 2005. So I think her first day was September 10th, 2001, and of course we know September 11th, 2001 was the attacks on the World Trade Center. So that was her second day at work, and it was her kind of entry into working in Traverse City was then. So she has left Munson, and now she is our accountant and business manager for the brewery and for our vacation rental businesses. So.
What was your family life like once you settled into Benzonia?
Well, we got married in 2003 and had our first child in 2006. So from 2003 until 2006, we worked a lot. We built 3 houses in that time, and both worked full time as well. So we built the house we're in currently in Lake Ann. We built a spec house on off of Cedar Run Road in 2005. 2005. And in 2005, we also started our first vacation rental and built that, and was done in 2006. So we worked a lot. So there wasn't much family life then. It was a lot of work. And then when our daughter was born, we just we worked a lot in those early years. A lot. There was no time. There was no time for nothing. It was a lot of work. So.
What made you decide to start your own business here in Benzie County?
Well, we lived here, number one, and in business, the closer you can be to your business, the better. Because if you live an hour away from your business, you're going to spend an hour, 2 hours, because you got to go there and you got to come back. Any time you're traveling, you're wasting your time. You're not doing, you can't do much productive when you're in your car, and it's costing you money the whole time because you're burning fuel. You're burning fuel, and you have to have a vehicle that'll get you from point A to point B. So it just made sense that we knew for the vacation rental business that, this is a resort area, a vacationers area, so it made sense to be close. So our one vacation rental is 1.5 miles from our house. The other one is right next to the brewery over here. The brewery's close. The brewery was born out of opportunity because there was a closed up building in Lake Ann that was foreclosed on, and nothing was happening. So it just made sense to do it here because we were here. And the closer you can be, the easier it is for life. And then it also makes sense to be able to, if you open a business in your own town, you've already got a base of people that you know. And so that's helpful, and you don't have to get to know a lot of people because you already know a certain amount of people. Now, if a bunch of people don't like you, well, that's a problem, but if you have a decent rapport with people, and then it's an easy first start. So that it just made sense. It was the easiest path to do something. The easiest thing is to do it right here, So, that's.
What was the process of building your businesses like, or what is it like so far?
It's each business was a standalone situation our vacation rentals was a standalone situation of why we did it. We were intentional about it. So we built one because we thought it'd be a good passive income. I was already in construction. We were in an area. It made sense to do something close, and we knew that we were in a good area to do it. So we did it, and we figured it'd be somewhat passive income, meaning income that you don't have to go actively work for. You did work and you receive residual income from it for a small amount of work after you do the initial investment. So, that was a standalone business that didn't take a ton of work. So if you started another business, that's not going to negatively affect that first business. We really, when we started the brewery, which was much more active, definitely not, I would call it terribly passive. It was just an opportunity, and we saw the building and we thought, well, this could be something. You grew up in Lake Ann. There was, in a town that most people don't realize how large Lake Ann is. Lake Ann is, our population here of our township and the village is actually larger than Frankfort. Doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, Frankfort's like a real town, right? In Lake Ann's like nothing. There's the grocery and
5 churches.
Yeah. I mean, it's just there's not a whole lot here. So most people, even when they live here, don't realize how many people are here. Well, so the cafe was closed. There wasn't a place you could get a beer in town. And we would always see people at different places, the Hayloft, out to Empire, Jody's, different places to go get a beer and a bite to eat or something, Interlaken. And we'd see people from Lake Ann, but there was never a place in Lake Ann you could go and see people from Lake Ann. So we just thought it made sense. It was something that we wanted. Are you old enough to remember the Lake Ann Cafe?
Yes.
Did you come in when it was the cafe?
Yeah, me and my dad would come in and get breakfast all the time.
Okay, so there was nothing. There was not. They didn't. I mean, you had the stone oven, but the Lake Ann Cafe had a beer. You could get drinks and stuff there, but it just had the feel of a cafe. It was always that feel of a cafe, and so I just thought there was a huge opportunity here for something that I would like, a family-friendly place where people would come in and relax and enjoy themselves. And as you can see, I mean, today's St. Patrick's Day, and we've got it's spit and rain. We've got all kinds of kids running around out here, and there's tons of young families in Lake Ann, and they want to have that hub where everybody can go and be a part of something. And Lake Ann's an interesting town because you can be in the center of Lake Ann, and some people go for schools. Some people go to TC West. Some people go to Glen Lake. Some people go to Benzie. Some people go to St. Francis. All from here. Every bus comes to Lake Ann to pick up kids. So there's not a hub even of a one school district that everybody can be a part of, because everybody chooses, different places for different reasons. So, I mean, the neighborhood you grew up, you had kids that went to probably every school. And so it was a little bit disjointed. And that's just the way it is because of our location. So a hub where people can come, I thought was really important for our area, and it's been embraced. And so that was kind of the process. I mean, it was a slow process. We didn't know what it would turn into. We kind of always, in business, you never, at least I don't, ever sit there and go, business is good, we're done. I always say, how can we make this better? Every season, every spring, I go, if we have vacationers that come up here and they have a place on Lake Ann, but let's say they only come to the brewery in the summer. The question I would have is this better now than it was last year when you were here? And is this year better than the year before? And are things better? You don't ever want it to be worse. If everything's the same, then it's going to be worse by default, because you assume everybody else is getting better. So if you're not moving forward, you're going backward. John Nuske that owns Lake Ann Grocery, who's since passed, but he would always say that if you're not growing, you're dying, because that store, although he started it 40 years ago, they've consistently innovated and done different things because they never stood still, and they've been able to be more and more and more relevant. I mean, it's a store you probably love going in because you know they got everything, you know, hell, I need one of these, I need this or whatever, and you grew up with it. You don't know anything different because you grew up going to that store and had everything. And it's just, you go to a town that doesn't have a store that has everything, well, that's just weird, you know? So you always want to keep growing and moving forward. So even though, you know, people might say, wow, you guys have really succeeded, you made it, whatever. I never feel that way. I always feel like, oh, we got to do something this year we have to improve, and we have to, and I think that's what keeps you relevant in business. That's what keeps you always moving forward, because you're always looking to be better. Once you relax, you're done.
So I would like to talk a little bit about the live performances that you hold at the brewery and how that's one of the things that you've created and brought to the business. Mm-hmm. So could you tell me more about those? Well,
as we are on the stage as we speak, I love live music. I've always loved live music. I'm an amateur guitarist. I'm pretty terrible. I would never hire me to play here. I'm not good. Because I was an amateur guitarist and I knew lots of musicians, when we opened, it wasn't part of our plan, but I wanted to add live music. So I reached out to a few different people I knew that played, just soloists that would come and play a little bit. And they played inside, they played outdoor. They started playing right down on the little where all those kegs are stacked now. They started playing right down there. But of course, when we opened, we had 6 picnic tables out here, and that was the patio. And that was it. And so we had some live music performances there. And then the next year we decided to build a stage. Musicians like a stage. They like a place where it kind of sets them apart. They don't like just playing in the middle of the crowd. I don't know whether it's an ego thing or it's just it feels more like a performance if you're on a stage. So we built the stage the next year. We got a bunch of lumber from Lake Ann hardwoods that had been sitting out in the sun, in the weather. So it was aged. It looked like old barnwood, but it was good wood to use. So since we built this stage, and it looks like an old stage, I mean, it looks like it's been here forever. So we did that, and as we did that, the first year we added Tuesday nights. We started the band called New Third Coast, which is a band out of Leelanau County. They were really big in Glen Arbor. They're a three-piece band that is super talented, been together for 30 years. And we started them on Tuesday nights, and it was just no looking back. I mean, it was the music kind of drove the business. People came out for the music and, of course, the product as well, but they really loved the music in the village. And since then, we've got national touring acts come through, and some pretty big regional shows. So, and this year we're planning. We're open 5 days, but we'll have 5 evening shows, and we'll have a Friday afternoon show and a Saturday afternoon show. So it's really become a big part of our business.
The brewery has made a large impact on business in Lake Ann. What has it been like as a longtime citizen, seeing the change and seeing the attention it's brought to the town?
You always want whatever you do to be a net positive for the community. Being a place that serves alcohol and isn't always looked upon favorably by people, you want to do your part to make sure that you're being a responsible member of the community. That said, and we've 30, 40 years ago, the idea of a brewery, bar, this type of situation being in Lake Ann would be pretty much unheard of. And now we're 100 and, at the time we opened, our property was 166 foot from the Methodist Church. Since then, we've expanded to behind the stone oven, so we're just across the street. The church has been a really good neighbor to us. We've done fundraisers for them. During COVID, they did their Christmas Eve service at the brewery back here, used the stage, used our area because it was outdoor and it was all set up for it. So we've been a good neighbor. I mean, we've seen, I said this before the interview, but with progress, sometimes you can't tell it's happening. If you probably remember being a little kid growing up in Lake Ann, that the park was in pretty much disrepair, and then we got new equipment, and it was that was a big thing, and the park became a big attraction in Lake Ann. I mean, the amount of people that were using the park all the time. I mean, it's amazing now. I always think a rising tide lifts all boats. So if the brewery's busier, the stone oven is busier, is the coffee shop's busier, it brings more people to the grocery. It brings to the ice cream store, to the anything in Lake Ann. I mean, it just brings more people, and if people come to your town, they like it. It brings more people to buy real estate here. It increases property values because there's a reason to be in the town. There's something happening. A town with nothing happening isn't much of a town. So I think that vibrancy, and people benefit even if they're not patrons of the brewery. I mean, there's something happening in town, and I get compliments from people that they don't even come in, but they say, we come through town and it's happening, and we like to see that. That's nice to see our town is happening. We're not falling by the wayside when, so many small towns, are going by the wayside and are not relevant, and our town is, and we're a place to be. And you know what? We steal people from Traverse City. People that are halfway between Traverse City and Lake Ann say, we want to come out to Lake Ann. We don't want to go to Traverse City. So that's a big deal. When you stop and think about it, it's pretty cool. I don't spend a lot of time stopping and think about it because I'm working or fishing. But when you kind of sit back, a few times this summer, I'll sit back and look and see what's happening here, and I'll be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. So.
How has starting the business affected your relationship / involvement with the community?
I've been involved with the community for a long time. I'm a trustee on the township board. I had been involved, and I just maintained my involvement. You have to, in the days of social media now, and politics and all of that, I think it's really important as a business to stay as far away from that as you can, because you can be involved with the community and be involved with local politics without being involved where people are choosing sides and getting upset, because if you marginalize half your customers because of your political beliefs and you espouse those, you're only hurting yourself. And so if you're in a business where you attract everybody, you never give people a reason not to come here. So you can be involved in the community without getting into the mud of all of that. So I maintain involvement with the township, and there's technically like political decisions we have to make, but you try to stay out of the muck and the mire of that.
So you mentioned that you're a trustee on the Elmira Township Board. What inspired you to seek that position?
I mean, in a simple way, I ran in 2008. Is that? No, 2012. Yes, 2012. because I'm on my third term. I ran in 2012. I didn't like the way they were doing it. And if you don't like the way they're doing it, then you better put up or shut up. So I ran, and we had an entirely new board come on, and you learn a lot about it. I probably was a little young and immature, and you think you're going to make a lot of changes, and we did make some changes, and I think, but you also probably look at those people that were on the board prior. They were doing the best they could. I mean, I'm happy I'm on the board. I'm going to remain on there. But, you're young, you think you're smart, and then you realize, I don't know, maybe I'm not that smart. I think as you get older, you realize you're not that smart at all. You'll get there. Don't worry.
So what are some of your duties on the board?
Well, I'm a trustee, so I've got it easy. All I have to do is be at meetings. We approve the budget. There's 5 people on the township board. 2 trustees, the supervisor, the treasurer, and the clerk. We all have 20% power, Nobody has any more power than the other person. We're all equal members and voting members. But I don't have to be at an office. The good thing about me being on the board is I'm out in the public and I get a feel for what people are thinking. What I do like being on the board is that because of the brewery, I have a little bit of a bully pulpit as far as I'm comfortable with my opinions, and I feel as though I can make a decision that might be politically risky, but I feel like I have the support of the constituency because they know who I am and what I stand for. So if you make a decision, sometimes it takes, this is cliche, but it takes a lifetime to build up a reputation, and it only takes an instance to ruin your entire reputation. And so, so far, I have a good reputation, I think, for being reliable and trustworthy. So when you have that reputation, people don't question every decision you make because they, assume you're making good decisions on behalf of the public. Once people think you're not, you've lost that trust, and it's hard to regain it back. People that they lied to you about something, and you don't believe them anymore because you think they're a lie. Once you lie to somebody, you're a liar. And so, I think that's an important part of being on any type of government. Tell the truth, and you don't have to. I don't have a real good memory, so if you tell the truth, all you have to go back and remember is what actually happened or what the deal was. So the duties on the board are I was instrumental in initiating or implementing, I guess I would say. I didn't initiate, but I helped to implement the disc golf course, which has been a pretty popular thing there in the township. Expanding access to the Ransom Lake Trail, 12 months a year has been a huge thing. That's been great. Park stuff, a lot of park stuff. Park and fire department is mainly township stuff, so.
I wanted to ask you a few questions about the COVID-19 pandemic and how it has affected business.
Well, of course, we were shut down for 13 weeks in the spring, and we couldn't even serve outdoors. That was a challenge because it was to go only. We did okay, but as a whole, the year was pretty good. We figured things out, adapted to what we had to do, and so as overall, I would say it was good. The summertime was a pain because we had to limit the amount of people in back, and that was a challenge. I had to work a lot more doing things that I didn't want to do. Limiting people. I mean, our business is not based on limiting people to tell them they can't come in. You know, you build a business that people want to come to, and then they come here and you tell them you can't come in. It's insane. So that is, that was a challenge. And there's minor things. Our staff's great. We didn't have anybody freaking out thinking they were going to die or anything like that. So that the support of the staff made things easier. We didn't have anybody and we didn't have customers wigging out either, so that was helpful. It was just, I don't know, but as far as, we'll look back, and I will definitely say 2020 was a huge growth period for us as far as learning to operate our business. I mean, as I'm looking here at the camera, beyond the camera is a enclosed tent where we've got a bunch of people in there, and it's heated, and it's March. We never would have had that. We have more seating today than we did a year ago. We're further ahead because of that. So pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is, while it's uncomfortable, often leads to growth and good things once you're forced to do things you don't want to do.
That's a good mindset. What are your hopes for the future of your businesses?
Just to continue growth. It's I don't have a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. I kind of take it as it goes. You can come up with a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, but the landscape is going to change, and you're going to have to react to that. So constantly looking forward to how you can improve business. You don't ever want to be where you are trying to get back business you lost because you got lazy. Because getting back business is tough. Trying to regain your foothold in the market is tough. And if you're the same, and there's places that you go and it's the same as when you were a kid, whatever. I go there, wow, this place hasn't changed. Well, although that's nice and colloquial, it's also bad for business, because if it doesn't change, it's the same thing. So you go, we can go there. Their food's still not that great, or whatever, So if you are improving, you're improving. So I can't stress that enough. I think you always have to be better, because why are you going to go somewhere that's not better? So you always have to, one thing I always, I think about, every customer is a potential bad review. You have to live in that, world of social media, and if somebody's having a bad time, it's live on the air, it's a bad time, or we had terrible service, or something like that. So you can't afford to ever be, they were having a bad day. If you're working, you're not having a bad day, and if you are having a bad day, it should be to yourself, because you can't have that, So you have to be on your game all the time, because it only takes one instance where you're off and you get dinged for it, So that's important.
Are there any more business ventures you hope to explore?
Not that I know of, but I'm always paying attention to things. To be in business, I once heard somebody say, all you need to do to make money is figure out what people want and give it to them. It's that simple. Now, that sounds oversimplified, but it's pretty much that simple. What do people want? Where do they want it? Give it to them. If there's opportunity, we'll take it. But right now, I do like the rental businesses. I like real estate. The brewery, there's only you do reach a limit of how many people you can have here, in consumption. Where I don't think we're at our limit. I think we have room to grow. I think we have room to, and this is another thing in 2020 that we realized, was that we have lots of areas we never explored. Music during the day. We call it a day drinkers series. There's lots of people that want to go out during the day, have a few beers, and go home. We never explored that before. And 2020 forced us to, and it's very intriguing. So, especially in the shoulder seasons, where it gets cool at night, but it might be glorious afternoon. So there's areas that we're going to explore this year and try to make the best of those, see what happens, and it's exciting. So.
Do you think you would ever open another location?
Wise people beyond me have always said, until you've maximized your profitability at one location, don't do another location. I think that's true, because the easiest place to make money is in one spot. You start splitting yourself up, and you see that all the time. Businesses open up, they're doing good for a year, and then they open up another spot. Well, what all they're doing is taking their eye off the ball at the one place. So now the one place is only getting managed halfway because they're only there half the time, and now they're dealing with staffing, and they're dealing with this and that, where had they just tried to maximize what they're doing in one spot, they probably would have made more money than having two places, So that's something you really got to be careful with, because it's attractive. People, if you're a success somewhere, people in other towns will try to lure you, and you'll have, and it's always nice to be asked. It's, being a girl, it's nice to get asked out on a date. Not that you might not want to go out with a guy, but it's nice to get asked. Well, the same thing with business. It's nice to be asked, but at the end of the day, I don't see it. So you got to be very careful. And then goes back to what I said about businesses. So now, how far do you have to go away from where you're at to not encroach on? You have a circle of business here, and you open a location here. Well, if this location is intersecting with that other circle, well, now you're stealing your own customers from one business to go to another. So now you're not getting further ahead, you're just taking your own customers away. And if you go too far, now you're in the car driving around. You got to think about all those things. So, no. The answer is no.
How do you think Elmira will grow or look in the upcoming years? Do you think it'll expand?
Yeah, I think we're one of the closest bedroom communities to Traverse City. Traverse City's expanding. We are. You may not see it because you grew up here, but Lake Ann's a cool town. It's hard to see that when you grew up here because it's Lake Ann. It's
the most beautiful place in the world.
But it's where your parents live. It's so. Maybe you like Lake Ann. Maybe you're special. Maybe you're different. But so many people usually don't recognize where they live because that's where they live. It took me to move here to appreciate it more. And if you can appreciate where you live and you didn't live anywhere else, then you're way ahead of the game. We're seeing right now a large amount of people wanting to live in Lake Ann. It's more reasonable than Traverse City, but it's close. We've got the lakeshore. We've got 36 lakes in Elmira Township. We've got just tons of opportunity to do outdoor recreation, and it's definitely on the upswing. So I see growth. We want to see, good growth. I hate the term smart growth because it's a buzzword. But you want to see, we don't want to see a Dollar General, but we want to see growth. And, can Lake Ann grow and still manage to stay looking kind of like it does? Because it really hasn't changed in about 50 years. There's not a lot of, when you look at snapshots from 50 years ago, there's not a lot of different. The buildings are all relatively the same. So not a lot of towns can say that. And, there's been a lot of repurposing here. So I see growth. I see opportunity here.
What are your hopes and dreams for the future of Elmira or Benzie County as a whole?
That's pretty big. I don't know that I've ever thought about that as far as, I hope we can, grow, but being able to keep in mind of why people wanted to be here in the first place. Unfortunately, what happens so many places is, everybody wants to go there, so they go there, and then they change it to what it is not. Yet they loved what they came to. That's where I'm aware of in Lake Ann is that I love this town. I don't want it to change a whole lot. And, obviously things change. That's the only thing that's constant is change. But I want to see, we're going to have growth. Growth is inevitable. Again, I go back to you grow or you die, right? Because if you stay, you're not going to stay the same. So I just want to see it preserved in a way where it's, in 50 years, it's not terribly different. If we can, keep the natural ways natural, the reasons people love it, you want to preserve those things.
Is there anything we haven't talked about yet that you thought we would?
Jeez, no, you did way better than I thought you'd do.
Is there anything else you'd like to add or share?
I don't know. I think that's about it. I'm out of words. What do you think? How'd I do?
Good. Yeah. Do you have any questions for me or the Remembering Benzie project?
Wow. I can't believe somebody would watch this in 50 years.
Oh, they can watch it on YouTube soon.
Oh, it's going to be on YouTube?
Yeah, so you
can
watch
wow.
it too.
Ooh.
The edited version.
Oh, yeah.
The edited.
Yeah, well, I think you did a fine job.
Yeah, this is my last one.
Oh, really?
Now my internship's over.
Really? And then what do you get to do?
Probably find a summer job.
Yeah. What do you want to do in the summer?
I don't know. I worked at Mistwood for 1 year. Actually, I was co-workers with Ava. But they closed down the restaurant last summer, and plus COVID, I was like...
They can't really get out of their own way.
Yeah.
They have some...
problems. Somebody needs to take over. Are you going to buy it someday?
No. Well, you see, the problem with Mistwood is they squandered opportunity, and here's where they squandered opportunity. They have, and this is where Bradley's, have you been to Bradley's? Okay.
See, they've grown. Because
Well,
they've remodeled and tried to fix
so what Bradley's have been able to do is set themselves aside, set themselves apart from golf and a restaurant. It's a restaurant. Were you there golfing?
No,
No,
I haven't
right.
gone there yet.
Oh, you've never gone to Bradley's?
Yeah, because my dad's a Mistwood loyal, kind of.
So, but as far as Bradley's figured out how to, serve the public. Serving just golfers is stupid because there's not that many golfers. You want everybody to come to your restaurant. And if people come, the problem with a restaurant is if nobody goes there, stuff ain't fresh. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to go to a restaurant that nobody goes to.
Yeah.
So they missed their chance. Their chance was before we opened. They could have been like a Roadhouse pub type of place where, I don't mean Roadhouse like
There's
Benzonia,
so much potential.
but I mean a place like they got an awesome deck. They could have been a place where you go there, have a few beers, meet people from Lake Ann. But we did that. Once we opened, we kind of stole their chance. And they had 20 years before us.
Yeah.
They missed their chance.
It was never
So
gonna come anyways.
not with the current ownership or with the former ownership. Plus golf is a tough business. It's mostly not golf weather, So it's a real tough business, and they couldn't. Restaurants is a tough business too. So you got a tough business with a tough business. So I think Bradley's though had a great opportunity because the Hofbrau sucks, and so there was opportunity there in Interlaken. I mean Bradley's didn't affect our business. I think they just gave people over that way somewhere good to go. So,
Yeah.
So internship with who?
The Benzie Historical Society.
Oh,
And
okay.
It's partnered with the Benzonia Public Library.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. And you've enjoyed it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, first semester we interviewed veterans
Okay.
in the county, and then this one's the legacy. So I actually got to choose Bob Roloff's interview.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
Cool.
he was in the Army, so that
Yeah.
was cool.
It's interesting. Are you interested in history?
Yeah.
And have you ever been to the Empire Historical Society?
I think I have, but I just probably don't remember.
So they've got an unbelievable museum there.
Yeah, about
It's
the founding people too.
it's there's a lot of that, and they have. Do you like watching local history? Anything local history?
Yeah.
So I have some DVDs that I bought from them that I'd be willing to loan you if you'd want to watch them. They're not very long. There's different histories of empire. There's different. There's the history of, this was fascinating. It's called coho fever, and it talks about when they introduced the coho salmon to in the Platte River, and if you go down to the mouth of the Platte River where you go canoeing and stuff, that was all different. There used to be a restaurant down there, a bait shop, like all kinds of. They have all these pictures from down there. It's unbelievable, like all the different stuff that was there 30, 40, 50 years ago. And they're fascinating. I love watching that stuff. And I think I have like half a dozen of these. There's the story, are you familiar with the story of the Westmoreland?
I don't think so.
So the Westmoreland ship went down in Platte Bay in 1856. And it was rumored to have a gold shipment to a lumber camp and whiskey on it. Well, Ross Richardson, who lives in Lake Ann, who's a historian and a diver, wrote this book called The Search for the Westmoreland. And he actually discovered the Westmoreland ship in Platte Bay. He looked for it with his boat and found it under there, preserved it, had never been discovered in 150 years. And he wrote a book about all the different groups that look for this in Platte Bay. It was just really fascinating. And Lake Ann, I mean, he lives right up the road, comes here. He runs the car show kind of in front here. But I just love local history and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the Empire Historical Society is unbelievable. The museum is just, they've got a ton of stuff there. So it's really worthwhile to go there and look around in the summertime.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's about it. I gotta take B-roll though.
You get your, they call those establishing shots?
Yep.
Like, okay, but I'm done. All right. Well, good luck. I hope you get an A.
Oh, I won't be graded, but I'll get paid.
Either way.
Yeah, for real.